if you don't like spoilers, oh boy, you do not want to watch this. Unless, of course, you've done what we've done and you have watched this last episode, most recent episode of Star Trek Discovery. And this episode, of course, is called Whistlespeak. And we're going to be telling you all the things that we noticed. We're going to be recapping. We're going to be reviewing. We're going to provide trivia. Wow, we do all sorts of fun stuff here. So let's get started. It's time for Disco Nights. What did I do with the intro? There it is. Hey, it's not just me either. Yes, I get your co-host. No download here. With his invisible glow stick.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Captain.
What an episode. Oh my God. There he is.
Okay, John. See you next week.
What an episode. I was impressed. I was unimpressed. I was confronted with things I don't normally like. I liked them. And a lot of my sort of complaints about how things are going right now in the world of Star Trek Discovery in its final season, of course. I don't know. I had a very positive experience watching this episode. What did you think of Whistlespeak?
I think I'm right there with you for the most part. I appreciate what they tried to do. I think it was definitely some hits and misses. A few more missed opportunities, which I'll talk about later.
Oh, yeah, I want to hear that.
And you know what? Not bad, not a classic. Right down the middle, just like this episode falls in the season. It was kind of time for, I won't call it filler, but and I do like a good standalone, Strange New World type episode, which is what we're getting some this weekend. But the overall story arc, maybe it was addressed in the last 2 minutes of the episode, I would think.
Yeah. That is telling, isn't it? When we get, through all of the drama and all of the mystery, and we finally, deal with the problems the best way we could deal with them. And then it's like, oh, yeah. And back to the plot.
Yes. Oh, almost forgot.
Greg Robinson, always good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, indeed.
We absolutely appreciate that. We like to go through the events that take place in the episode. And we call that Lobby.
We got him.
Let's get into what happened in this episode with some patented, copyrighted, trademark Joe Townsend beat. What do you got, Mr. Townsend?
Well, John, I'll begin by saying this.
Yeah.
You know how to whistle speak, don't you? Just put your lips together and blow. All right, now that we have that joke out of the way, we can get started.
You have and have not? Is that what that's from?
Oh, that Lauren Bacall, I can't remember the movie.
Yeah, Lauren Bacall. I think it's
so hopefully some of our younger viewers will even know what the heck I'm talking about with that reference, but it still sounds good, doesn't it?
Humphrey Bogart reference. That's old. That's old,
going back. I wasn't alive then, but I somehow along the way I became aware of Bogey and Bacall.
It's in the culture.
Yes, exactly.
Something we carry with us.
Well, I'll tell you, the Discovery crew itself, I must be watching our show because they got into some real cool disco nights ambiance there with all the flashing, colorful lights and everything. I think we just needed a little bit of Staying Alive from the Bee Gees to just really cap it off. But they're all working together with, some cool tunes playing. And so good for them.
Right.
Now, speaking of discoveries, it turns out it's not magic water in the vial obtained last episode. No. It is simple distilled H2O. Just like you put in your iron, when you're ready to press your shirts. Well, nothing special there. yet. Now it's time for Burnham to join Kovich for a brief confab in the Infinity Room, also known as the Cone of Silence.
Ah,
Yep.
fun.
Now, not a fan of spreading the truth, and Kovich tells Mikey to concentrate on the progenitor tech. Other unnamed starships are tracking Maul and Locke, which tells us them this week. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, Kovich whips out an old school legal tablet purchased, I assume, at a 32nd century Office Depot somewhere. He has scrawled on the first page the names of the scientists from Velik's motley crew.
Yeah.
It resembles the list of names of enemies that the bride will execute in Kill Bill, coincidentally. Just crossing one after the other. Now, what I call the TNS team, aka those new scientists, they discovered that the water clue was provided by a descendant of Dr. Phlox from Enterprise. Actually, the ancestry of the Denomalian Doc Creel is pure speculation on my part, but it would be cool if that was true.
Repeat that last part for us, because we got a weird glitch that sounds like you were suddenly playing the harpsichord.
Oh, well, that's kind of interesting too. No, I was speculating that maybe our Denobulan Dr. Creel, who left this week's clue, might have been a descendant of good old Doc Phlox back in Enterprise. You never know.
Could have been. That's the only Denoblian we know. Could be. Or the Denoblians have big families. It could be a relative.
Could be. I mean, it's a big universe, but sometimes it's a small one in Star Trek land.
That's exactly true.
Same thing in Star Wars, for that matter. Everything happens, centers around Tatooine for some reason.
That's true. And that damn Skywalker family.
I tell you, they're just a nuisance, aren't they? Well, the crafty Doc Creel designed 5 nifty rain-making weather towers, disguised to the natives as weird, narrow, vertical mountains. There, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to the planet Elemento. Elemento?
Elemento? P.
Something like that.
QRSTUV. Yeah.
Well, it ain't hard to spot one of the rain-making towers. It's a bit conspicuous, resembling a huge marital aid and everything. But wouldn't you know it, the old Trek plot chestnut rears its ugly head once again. Some kind of dampening field is preventing scans. I mean, this 32nd century tech is really cool, as we'll see, unless there's some kind of dampening field, and they always get them. Now, we are warned, do not return scans, Mr. Spock. It could be interpreted as hostile. Oh, sorry, John. That's from Star Trek The Motion Picture, V'ger. Oops. Well, there's another obstacle. The Helmanites are pre-warp and are still using stone knives and bearskins, it seems. Prime Directive time, which is soon to be followed by Break the Prime Directive time.
Yeah.
Well, Burnham gives us some fascinating info about the natives below, which we'll likely never see or hear from again. But hey, it's good to know about him this week. Well, Tilly, biding her time now before she's shipped off to the Starfleet Academy spinoff, is chosen to accompany Burnham to the surface. Raynor doesn't even bother objecting to his captain leading an away team. Never worked for Riker. Hasn't worked for him either this season. Heck with it. Safe travels, Captain.
He knows. He's got the con. He knows.
He wishes both of them Godspeed as they put on native garb and put in these super cool tricorder contact lenses.
Very cool. Oh yeah, cool. No, I love those. And that's the kind of tech that I'm always like, the most important thing you ever had was a tricorder. You should always have some form of tricorder with you. So I love it.
And in the TOS or even TNG DS9 days, you're trying to use it all, inconspicuously. Yeah. So this actually shows me some real 32nd century tech that's believable.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, well, planetside, Tilly and Burnham, they set out on foot for a trek through the woods. Somewhere nearby, the dynamic duo hear these odd words. Darmok on the ocean. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. Oh, no, just kidding. Not that. This isn't a TNG episode, just a pale imitation of one.
Yes, I thought so too. Actually, I have a real burn. I don't know if I want to save it, maybe I'll just say it now. It does feel a lot like a TNG episode. You know what it feels more like? It
Hmm.
feels like a Stargate episode.
Really?
It really does. It feels so much like Stargate Atlantis. Like, what in this plot would not have been done on a Stargate show? Well, we're on a planet, looks just like a forest in Canada, and the natives of the planet look just like us, but their clothes are rags and wraps, and they wear this sort of like medieval kind of peasant clothing, and they have modern problems, and there's family drama, and it's so freaking Stargate. It's intensely ridiculous, but it's beautifully shot. The budget is great, so it in that way it's much better than Stargate. So I'll
John,
give them that.
I disagree. I mean, they're totally different. I mean, one show uses a gate, the other show they go on a truck. Just because they have the word star in common is irrelevant. So,
you know what I always say about Stargate? Stargate is the most Canadian version of Star Trek you could ever ask for. Um, are we going to have big ships that fly through space? No, just a door.
just a door.
We're going to go to all the planets in the universe. Really? Yeah, through a door.
Well, you know, I mean, how far removed is that? I mean, if one franchise lives from another, the magic comm badge transporters that get you from point A to B in a flash.
Yeah.
You know, no need to go to the transporter room anymore. Heck, there's not with the spore drive. There's not even a reason to take a ship anymore.
You know, it's hilarious that they've done this, because I keep thinking about these transporters and how they've changed the writing of this particular show because you don't have to have walk and talk down the hallway anymore. You know,
Exactly.
you don't have to have like doors.
Well, Roddenberry, and we're going off on a tangent here, but that's okay because it's our show, right?
Yeah. Who's going to stop us?
Who's going to stop us? Unless we get some angry comments from Craig or others.
Exactly. If you tell us in the comments to stop, we will stop. That is true.
No, Roddenberry, when they were putting together TNG, wanted to have a transporter pad on the bridge, which makes total sense at the time. But he said, no, I think we need to have those walking through the corridor, having a little chat before we go to the transporter room.
I mean,
now, of course, they would adapt that later in DS9 because it's too logical not to use at some point.
Yeah, yeah. No,
so again, we're kind of at a point now. It's like, you know, like I said, let's use Stargate stuff.
Why
walk
not?
through a door?
Why not?
Just like Shatner did in Airplane 2. Remember we talked about that a couple weeks ago?
I love that clip. I love that clip.
It is a great one.
All right. I'm sorry. We should probably
no. Hey, whenever something strikes us, we got out there, but we'll talk more about the similarities to other episodes. I found a few that I think were pretty relevant.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so back to the beats then. So where was I? Okay, I did the Darmok joke. Okay, here we go. But so they're just kind of trekking through the woods, and they hear some whistle speak. So there's the justification for the terrible episode title. But we'll forgive them this. I wonder if anyone who can't whistle like me.
Yes, or me.
I mean, are we considered mute in that society?
Probably didn't have anything important to say.
That must be it. That's why, you know, I have nothing important to say, so why give me the ability to whistle?
You have nothing important to whistle across the vast beyond.
Yes. Now, eventually they do encounter some native folk, Mikey and Tilly, and just in time to see one of them pass out from breathing in a full lung full of dust from storms that plague the region.
Yes.
Now, Michael and Tilly could save her easily, but should they? That pesky, inconvenient Prime Directive rears its ugly head.
That's right.
Oh, well. Fortunately, the woman is cured of her coughing and wheezing by High Priest Ovaz, who uses some kind of vague but nifty sound cure. Oops.
Right.
Yes. But there is a side effect. Michael passes out from it, but quickly comes to. So the significance or lack thereof is never really revealed here. But
I wondered about that. Like, we're not going to follow up on that at all. That's weird.
I don't see how. I mean, I just labeled it as filler scene for a filler episode, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe they were running short on time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Tilly has gotten chummy with the priest's child, Rava.
Mhm.
Now, she is one of, correct me if I miss it, is one of 3 recognized genders in this society of this species.
Well, I will say this has been quite an exercise for me because I'm really I'm not particularly good at remembering to use they them pronouns, and it's so funny that 2 characters in this episode, Adira Tall on the
Mhm.
ship on Discovery, and this character down on the planet's surface are both they them. And I'm such an old man. I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, well, those people are getting it right, and those people get it right. Why can't I get it right? They, them, they, them.
Well,
Ah,
Jonathan
she's
makes Coney better, though. I don't recall anything in the episode within the context of the writing that even specifies that. We just know that this person is not male or female, something else, apparently.
right.
Matter of fact, I don't know that anybody in this species is either of those genders. They're just 3 distinct genders of some kind.
Exactly.
So, but in terms of us referring to it later, we'll use we'll come the closest to the proper reference. So bear with both of us, gang.
Yes.
We're doing our best here.
We're not trying to misgender here. We're just
not at all
working the best we can with the stone tools that we grew up with.
And the bearskins.
Exactly.
So this is why, as I talk about Rava, I will refer to her now as that spunky youngster. And she's jazzed to race. See, I just did it. No, is jazzed to race to the temple at the high summit, that ancient Denoblian Rainmaker disguised as a skinny mountain.
Yes.
Now, Rava is all pumped to win the race to the temple, but for some reason, her priest Papa is against it. And I think we'll find out why later in this episode. Now, Michael and Tilly put on their jogging shoes and enter the race as well. There's a clue in them Thar Hills. Okay, so Tilly encourages Rava, wondering if her new friend has the stuff to be a Starfleet cadet one day, perhaps. Wouldn't be surprised when that spinoff materializes. We'll see. Now, Michael contacts Rayner, see what's going on up on Disco. Well, Adira is still bummed that they brought the Spider time bot on board 2 episodes ago. But time to get over it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I guess I like that they addressed it and seemed to fix it this time, especially with Rayner, who's the biggest hard ass, going like, hey, that's not on you. Move on. In his, gentle way. Sarcasm. But it is a big deal. I do appreciate what a big deal it is for the character of Adira, because that is, when you just accidentally are made the carrier of this doomsday weapon, that's got to make you feel kind of bad. Like there's nothing they could have done. Hey, look at me. Vague.
No, not at all. And I can understand their their regret and embarrassment, perhaps is a word.
Yeah.
But at the same time, hey, you're on the bridge right now, so suck it up.
Now you're talking just like Rayner.
Well, that's what I meant. That was meant to be conveyed. So
that ain't a bad thing. That's a good.
Although I think he handled it better this time around than he might have done it a couple weeks ago. So
yes,
we're seeing some progress there.
We are, yeah.
Okay, now, as you may recall from last week, I'm not a big fan of this next part, but elsewhere on Disco, we are subjected to more of Culber's crisis of faith.
Yeah.
Now, his hubby, Stamets, doesn't understand him. Well, okay. Well, book? Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
But first, a little heart-to-heart in Espanol with his holographic abuela. She sets her grandson back on the right path. And like Adira, Culber is still effed in the head from his experience in a previous episode. Actually, also about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, again, I would personally urge Culber, try to find your way through getting messed up from being Janalber. Had to use that name one more time. Well, Cobra benefits from Hollow Abuela's wisdom. Cool, Granny, gracias. Plus, the hologram has the added advantage that Cobra can turn it off before Grandma starts to ramble on about the good old days and those idiots in Washington D.C. You know, so that's just 2 pluses right there. Remember, hijo, she says, it's being of sound mind and body. Well, makes sense, Grandma. Time for a neural scan to see if Cobra is sound of wind and limb, as McCoy might put it. Cobra and Stamets head to sickbay. The neural scan reveals that Hugh's brain is normal and, of course, handsome. How her brain is handsome, not sure how that works, but we'll go with it.
You know, honestly, everything about Culber is handsome. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Then it's appropriate, you know.
I mean, you know, just the just going off when Janal is you know, possessing him and going, man, this guy works out.
Very true. And he wants to go to sick bay to make sure he's still in top form. I can understand that.
The actor's name is Wilson Cruz.
That's correct,
if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, I got to tell you, he's so likable. I don't mind that they put this focus on him, especially once I put it into the context of, well, would they do it with Dr. McCoy? Yeah, they would. Dr. McCoy would have, you know, his own story, his own kind of journey. That could happen. So that doesn't really surprise me here.
Yeah, and I make fun, but if this ongoing subplot comes to fruition in a satisfying way and gives us a great character arc for the character, I'll be the first to say, okay, I prejudged.
Yeah. I mean, it right now it's process and it doesn't seem to be leading anywhere, but I think it's leading somewhere big, and we've had that
clearly, because I mean, it's not resolved yet. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit, but
yeah,
it's still there by episode's end, so it's something's a coming.
We'll talk about it during the prediction section.
There you go. Good idea. Oh, let's see. Okay, well, back with Michael, she chats with the woman whose coughing hack was cured by the priest. You know, she really misses her good friend who actually won the last big race to the temple. The woman suggests that maybe, just maybe, the race and its consequences aren't necessary to bring the rain. Such heresy. Huh. The racers get ready and set by sucking on a weird alien sugar cube that makes them really, really thirsty.
Oh, that was awful.
Yes. But soon it will be time to go. The racing course is lined with water bowls, but drinking from one is a big no-no. Those racing need to make that sacrifice. Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert there. Hey, Mikey spies with her little eye. The one with the tricorder contact lens, that is.
Yeah.
Some really funky moss, which for some reason grows on the south side of trees on this strange new world, not the north. I made that up.
You know what? That was my first observation, was like, what side of the tree is that? Oh, I wonder if that means former Boy Scouts, I'm assuming.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Now, Michael leaves the race, and lo and behold, she locates a control panel oozing radiation all over the foliage. Now, eventually, Tilly and Rava are the last ones standing or running. And boy, a big bottle of Aquafina sounds mighty good right about now. Well, to appease the non-existent rain gods, they need to each carry a big bowl of H2O. They would salivate if they weren't so darn dehydrated.
Oh, man.
Now, clearly exhausted, thirsty, and klutzy Rava drops their bowl of water. Odd. Priestad is psyched. But damn it, that Badinsky Tilly shares her water with her little buddy. Oh, well, Tilly had good, if misplaced intentions, as we'll see.
Yeah.
So the race is a draw. Tilly and Rava both get to enter the temple. Tilly takes a gander with her new nifty contact lens tricorder, but spots nada. Now, Priest Daddy is really bummed and miserable. He tells his child, I have something else in my notes. Different word.
Yeah.
Tells his child that and Tilly that their sacrifice will bless had let him know for many seasons. Wait a minute. Say what? Sacrifice? Huh? On Disco, Rayner slaps Adira, no, not literally, and tells her to get over it already. They give Michael some helpful hints on fixing the weather tower's control panel. Now, that's more like it, Adira. Keep up the good work. Good thing, too, because there's no time to waste. Tilly is now trapped in that temple, and the air is being sucked out PDQ.
Yeah.
Okay, you knew it was coming, folks. Time for Burnham to break the Prime Directive, and with a vengeance. She beams into the room right next door to the vacuum room. She materializes about a foot from where Priestad is already mourning the passing of his child, who's not even dead yet. This because beaming around the corner, out of sight, would have made far too much sense. Now, gasping for air, Rava rethinks his whole sacrifice deal. Not satisfied to allow a native to see her beaming in and out of thin air, Michael says, what the hell, and decides to tell Priest Papa everything. When it comes to violating the Prime Directive, well, she's in for a penny, in for a pound. Everything society has believed for centuries is all BS, Mikey tells Daddy. She's having trouble convincing him. Where are all the diplomatic skills of James T. Kirk when you need them? Priest Daddy is still skeptical, so Michael takes a different approach. The clever captain uses her spiffy communicator to hum a lullaby Rava's mama used to sing to her.
That's so funny.
This works in a plot twist as contrived as Batman flipping out when he finds out that his mother and Clark Kent's were both named Martha. You know?
Yes.
Maybe the sacrifice to the rain god is BS after all. Door to the vacuum cleaner. Open sesame. Oh boy, Rava is passed out, but Cobra has put his spiritual journey aside long enough to do his job and get a medical team beamed down to save the day. Now fully corrupted by Burnham's violation of the Prime Directive, Priest Daddy oohs and ahs when shown a hologram of the planet. You see these brilliant inobulans. You should see them. They have really weird smiles. Well, they saved you, little ball of dust, about 800 years ago. But they're not around here anymore, so it's up to you to keep the rain tower working proper.
Yeah.
Well, Priest Daddy says, no problemo. We'll just call repairman listed in the yellow pages. Now, John, remember, this is a backwards pre-warp society, so they don't have Google yet, all right?
They're going to have to teach them basically air conditioner repair.
Get the HVAC specialists on board.
HVAC specialists. That's crazy. They have wooden bowls. They have no technology, but no, we'll teach you basically HVAC skills. Okay, God bless. Godspeed.
Have fun. You know, it's like you and I building a phaser. I mean, maybe we could do it. Hope we never have to find out.
Exactly. Here's the phaser manual. Here, just keep building phasers. That'll save you. Okay.
Now, if one explodes in your hand, just try again, you know. Now, Michael can't help but wonder if she could have avoided screwing up the society's religious beliefs for centuries to come. But she gets over it quickly when Tilly has a big surprise. Hey, Captain, check this out. Markings on a log, revealing that the next clue is in a whole different weather tower entirely. OMG, Tilly, Paolo mine. I almost forgot. We are supposed to be getting the next clue, and the episode's almost over. Tally-ho. So, end of episode. Credits roll. No, sorry, no such luck. More Cobra spiritual journey stuff first.
Yeah.
So, back on Disco. Book is enjoying that thrilling ancient Earth video game, Asteroids.
Oh my God, it's Asteroids. That was so ridiculous. He's playing Asteroids. They should have at least used the sound effects.
It's kind of like when remember in Star Trek 3 when McCoy goes to the bar and the aliens are playing like these little holographic airplanes. So that's how far they've come in 900 years as far as video gameplay. So,
it's always derivative. That's how all video games are.
Of course. But you know what? It's a good thing Book's doing this because he's got to keep working on that hand-eye coordination in his downtime, which he had plenty of in this episode.
That's right.
But before he's done, Cobra stops by to offer his buddy some of Grandma's home cooking. freshly replicated and piping hot. Face it, Hugh, old buddy. Our significant others don't always understand us, but it's okay, doke, because we love them anyway, and they love us. Meantime, just keep on keeping on with your spiritual journey. But for the sake of our audience, keep it off screen. I don't think that's going to happen. Tilly and Michael repeat the standard episode code of the season by placing the fourth clue in the puzzle.
Yeah.
Leave the entire puzzle unattended on a low table where Grudge the cat can knock it off and shatter it. You know, Mikey speculates, the scientists listed on this piece of paper are trying to tell us something. What's that? There's only 4 episodes left and we still have to open the mystery box containing the progenitor tech? After all, as Spider-Man's Uncle Ben always said, John?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. Well, for that reason, we better get cracking. The final clue awaits. But first, there is a subspace message from Starfleet HQ. Mullen and Locke have been found, so we'll get to see him next time, thank goodness. Rev up the old spore drive and get us to the next episode pronto. More Whistlespeak echoes into space, hopefully to be heard again. End of
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, let's jump to our next segment, and that would be us getting down and dirty. Down and dirty. So, we already kind of alluded to how we felt about this episode. If I can be fair here, you, Mr. Townsend, felt like it was a standalone episode, which I agree with, and I like that. That's very Star Trek.
Yes.
It's about another culture. That's always cool. Let's see what Craig has to say. Craig Robinson says, it's funny. I was also wary of how in the open and exposed those precious clues were at the end.
See,
true. They're just
I'm not
on a
crazy.
table.
Thank you, Craig.
It's like, wouldn't you want to put them someplace safe where, like, because, oh boy, if that ends up being a, Maul and Locke break in and take all the pieces because they were just left out on a desk, that will really kind of make me mad. That's a down and dirty right there.
It might be a prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that did happen.
God, I don't want that to happen. So yeah, what are the other things that here's kind of where I was with it. It didn't feel like the overall mystery was at stake at all, which it has felt like in previous chapters. And don't get me wrong, these all feel like chapters too. Like, I don't know too many people who could just watch one of these episodes like this one and just go, oh yeah, I know what's going on. Like, there's a lot of explanation, but you have to experience a lot of this mystery. So I feel like this is a real mini series, honestly, even more so than a season. But
I think that's a good way to put it, John. And because in all fairness, you couldn't watch this episode by itself with no context of the season arc storyline and really understand. I mean, you could follow it, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense as to why they're doing it.
Yeah. But I guess that's kind of where Discovery has always been, because it's always been, as we always say, there's very, very infrequently is there filler. It's mostly these 10 episode seasons, and there is an overarching storyline that's being followed. So it's consistent, but might be one reason why this series is only going to 5 seasons, not getting the full 7, is, it's just way too chapter oriented.
That could be a possible explanation. Of course, we could open the can of worms and speculate as far as finances and budgets and so forth being a contributing factor.
Right.
But as far as the story itself and the journey of these years, I mean, it could go on, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not, so that's why we're here.
Yeah. And I will say too, as I kind of alluded to before, I liked this episode. I liked it. It really had the, well, not human touch necessarily, because people we're dealing with are not humans. But we got into their lives, and we got into the sort of simple difficulty of their lives, which is a pre-warp thing too, you know. So I guess it's consistent. Oh, and how did you feel about a Prime Directive episode? That's kind of
This
unusual for Discovery.
also makes me wonder, does the Prime Directive outweigh Directive, or is it the reverse? Is
Hit
the
me.
mission important than the possible corruption? Do we not possibly corrupt no matter what the mission? Because it's a pretty damn important mission.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and it has that classic Prime Directive problem too, which is like this planet, the difficulty that they're facing is that everything collapses and they all die. So it's everything for them is at stake. So that's a good reason to break the Prime Directive. Maybe I've just watched too much Star Trek, because I'm like, we have to break the Prime Directive. Okay. No, seriously, it's a problem. It's part of the process, as far as I know, is you break the Prime Directive. You break a few eggs, you get an omelet.
Well, just like the dampening field is needed to make this highly advanced tech break.
Yeah.
You need to break the Prime Directive to get the story told sometimes.
Yes, exactly. I mean, oh God, who are the guys from Next Generation, the big like thug dumb guys? They're also featured in Lower Decks. They have like the
Agnosticans. Packlets. Okay.
The Packlets. Those guys were a great example of why you don't break the Prime Directive. Why, you know, more less advanced cultures should not have more advanced technology, because these guys are just space dummies flying around blowing shit up. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. And that's, you know, that's your lesson right there. But we've lost that lesson. It hasn't happened in a while. So now it just feels to me like breaking the Prime Directive is just, you know, necessary. Just one of those things you do. And it shouldn't be.
I'll go out on a limb, and if this isn't the thought process, hopefully people in charge will agree that it should be. But you know, as we all know, I mean, the Prime Directive was a concept invented in TOS as an allegory to the Vietnam War.
Oh, interesting.
You know, and it would seem to hold true now, but maybe the fact that we so easily disregard it in later stories, and they're shown in later eras of Trek, is that we as a society have kind of lost sight of that as well.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, it really does speak to the time where the original show was made, because there was an arms race going on this planet, and lots of cultures who had no business getting involved with it, you know, we're getting access to nuclear weapons. And why? That's never going to turn out okay that more people have them, or that anyone has them, but that's just me being a hippie. Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. I guess the problem for me is you don't show me the stakes when you just talk about it. And so, you know, we've kind of lost, and you know, this is the 32nd century too. It's like, is the Prime Directive still the same? Because it's 900 years from when we were seeing the Prime Directive being used. Actually,
well, Michael said it herself in this episode, referring not to that, but it holds true for Prime Directive as well, in that beliefs also evolve.
And that is a tremendous thing to have taken from this episode, because that is true. If you grew up going to Sunday school the way I did, the approach to everything in you know, my Christian upbringing was very different in the late 60s, early 70s than how it is now. And at that time, it was super different from what my parents and my grandparents had experienced. So beliefs do evolve, which is really interesting, because it means evolution is necessary, that it's
Mhm.
real and necessary. And a lot of times religion is like, no, keep reading the old book and keep translating the way it was always translated. But that's just me being personal about my spirituality. If if
Well,
Culver doesn't annoy you doing that, I will.
you and many others, including myself, but it does, in terms of evolving, the Star Trek mythos has clearly evolved because the original series was largely from Roddenberry.
Yeah.
I'll say agnostic in its beliefs, if not flat out atheist.
Oh yeah.
Where we have found, and I think this began in DS9 in Force,
Yeah.
when we found a balance of sorts between technology and faith.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this episode definitely touches on those themes, and that's what any worthwhile Trek episode does, in my opinion,
Yeah.
is balance what could be opposing philosophies.
That's really interesting and absolutely true. Yeah. And maybe that's why it's so funny, because when I was watching DS9, as they were coming out week by week, I was like, oh, really? More of the theology of
Mm.
Bajor, more of this, more really. But when you look at the whole telling, the whole 7 seasons of DS9, it's hugely important, and
Mhm.
actually in a really interesting way. And I think probably, I knew that once they introduced the bad version of the gods in
Yes.
DS9. And as soon as we meet the Pa Wraiths,
Right.
I'm like, oh, all right, now we got something going on here. It's not just a philosophy that you hold close to your heart. It's like there are actual beings representing their religion, and they're really powerful. And I still to this day love Deep Space Nine for that, even though it was never meant to be the big religious show. They managed to make it that, and it was among other things. It was, a lot of great things to DS9. But
Well,
anyway,
and as in as much as um, faith and technology could be interpreted as being separate, also effective was when they overlapped and became one almost on certain
mhm.
occasions.
Yes. Yeah.
Pirates and the wormhole aliens being an example.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were mortal, you know, finite beings, but godlike in their scope.
Exactly, which is very reminiscent of the Asgardians from Marvel or something like that they're so advanced they seem to be magical. Let's jump ahead. Do you, Mr. Townsend, do you have any predictions based on this episode? Because I'm not sure I have any. How about you?
Well, I'll repeat one from last week, which I think is pretty obvious. If it doesn't come to pass, number one, our promo graphic will be moot for next week. But I think obviously, given the episode's title of Araga, which is the green blood bounty, I have to say that one slowly. There it is.
There it is.
We will, of course, and we're going to see Maul and Locke again. So we're going to have a clash with bounty hunters. I hope of different kinds, because that sounds like a pretty nifty bounty to collect. That
And
blood bounty of the Breen.
I
So
mean,
we'll
they're
see
the
that
royal
next
family.
week.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Locke's part of the royal family, so that's got to be a good piece of change.
well, it is, and like I said, like as I mentioned last week, I believe, like the Terminator, they will not stop,
Yeah,
until the bounty is collected. My
and
other prediction
hopefully,
is that, and I hope I'm right on this one.
yeah,
Despite her huge violation of the Prime Directive, I think we've had enough tribunal and courtroom drama amongst the various series recently.
yeah.
I don't think we'll see Burnham face any kind of real repercussions for this. I could be wrong, but that would just bring the action to such a halt if that's the case.
You know what? I'm 100% with you on that. And this is let me remember this correctly. Is this a red directive?
This mission they're on is a red directive, hence my wondering which outweighs the other, red or prime. But
Yes. Yes, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to predict that they won't have to deal a lot with this. It might get mentioned by, a pissed off admiral or something, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal because it's all part of the Red Directive, which I'm going to guess is, 007 license to kill kind of thing.
Right.
Like we had
Although,
to
and this
sanction.
would suck, but I guess there's always the possibility. Maybe this is part of the scenes they had to film after the season was concluded to make it a series finale.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe poor Michael Burnham will get thrown back in the pokey, just like she was at the very beginning of the series.
Okay, oh wow, that's wild. Yeah, maybe. Oh, I missed this from Craig. They thread Klingon religion throughout different shows as well, which I think helped to really flesh out their culture. Agreed.
Yes,
Agreed.
absolutely.
To the point where I was a member of a Star Trek group on Facebook where if you sent in a picture of a pet you had who passed away, everyone else would scream like Klingons at Stovacor. They would it'd be like, hey everybody, my little Chihuahua Pepe passed away. Could I have a Vulcan, a funeral for him, please? And then we all would just put up pictures of Klingons going, and then
Very,
people
very
would
fitting
say,
tributes, I think.
oh, I just love it. It's just there are some good Star Trek groups out there. Star Trek Family actually is a really sweet one. I really love those people. And that yes, to know that exists actually has made my life better. I absolutely agree with that. On one prediction from me, and I think I may have made this prediction last week. I am very worried that in order to finish this series, just as in Deep Space Nine, the wormhole aliens / the prophets take Cisco, take him to be with them. I'm really worried that Dr. Culber is going to end up sacrificing himself to some great godlike being or something to save everybody. He would do it heroically. But I'm worried we're going to lose Culber again.
Well, if this were not the last season of the series, I'd be more worried about that possibility. But what you describe is really would be an evolution of the character.
Yeah.
Not a demise. And
right.
Seems fitting given his past life experiences.
Right. I mean, he is on his second life.
Yes, exactly. I mean, maybe he and Cisco will sit down and have a brew or something.
All right. Do you have any MVPs from this episode of this show?
I do, and I'm going to have to point the finger directly at our lovely Miss Tilly because she, more than anybody, I think, drove the episode's event. She almost got her new friend killed. By giving her some of her water.
Yes.
But I don't want to focus on that. She didn't know.
She was doing the brave, good thing.
Yes, of course. No, but seriously, I mean, lots of good character moments for Tilly. I'm glad that her role was much more than a cameo, which is what we've kind of gotten the last couple years, actually.
Yeah.
I think we saw some subtle build up for Starfleet Academy, but it didn't seem as much. It wasn't in our face like, oh, okay, here we go. We got to build this little platform now. No, but I mean, I can see some of the building blocks come into place for that too. So I got to give it to Tilly for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm not sure I'd go anywhere else. I think she was the real hero. There's some really funny Tilly moments in this episode. If you like Tilly, and I've always liked Tilly, this is a good Tilly episode.
Yes.
Well, now this brings us to my favorite segment of Disco Night. Time for some timeless tidbits. And I gotta admit, I have no tidbits this episode.
Well, I put together a little list for us, John, so not to worry. I'll handle this one.
Excellent.
And it's something I mentioned may trigger something in you that you aren't thinking about currently. That always happens too.
I hope so.
It's called a give and take there, sir. That's what we do so well, you and I.
That's true. That is true.
So here we go. Mention a few of the things right here. I will start off by saying, in true trivia form, the full Kill Bill style list of 24th century scientists in clue order, nonetheless, makes up the following. We, of course, have Velik, who is Romulan, Janal Bix, the Trill,
Right.
Carmen Cho, a Terran,
All right.
Hideroshi Krill, the Denobulan,
Mhm.
and I think probably coming next week after, wink, wink, Marina Derex, who's a Betazoid. Now, of course, it doesn't take a big fan to know who this scientist is named for.
Right. Right. That's so funny. Marina Sirtis.
Exactly. Some of the I picked a few episodes that this reminded me of, and I'll kind of stack them up against each other. Initially, this may be a reach. You let me know what you think, John, and anyone in the audience, of course. The sacrifice plot device, it does harken back to TNG's Justice, not one of their best efforts, obviously. But this is the one, of course, where Wesley is to be executed for the good of the half-naked natives of that episode,
Right.
as well as appease their weird machine god in space. But it just kind of has that vibe that someone's got to be sacrificed to keep the balance of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
This plot also reminds me of original series A Taste of Armageddon.
Yes. Yes. I was feeling that too. Yeah.
Exactly. Where, you got to march into the disintegration chamber and just to avoid the horrors of war. And again, a little bit of a reminiscent there for me.
Right.
But one that I thought of at the last minute, which is totally relevant and recent. Strange New World season 1. Lift us where suffering cannot reach, where they sacrifice the holy child to their god.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, and I think Craig was guessing at the same time where a child was to be sacrificed as a battery or something, but that's actually Strange New Worlds.
Yes. Close, Craig. That is Strange New World season 1. The title, of course, again being Where Suffering Cannot Reach.
Hey, mate, we all make those, we all overlap. No one's blaming you.
And you know what? We count on
guessing
people
wrong
like
stuff.
Craig and our other friends, other Rangers, to let us know when we slip up from time to time.
Heck yeah, please be there.
Other people have pointed this out too, but I think it's worth a mention on our show. The Denobulans use silver iodine to make it rain, which is done on Earth now.
Yeah.
Which kind of tells me that Phlox's species is maybe not that brilliant. They're kind of a couple hundred years behind us, apparently, when they built these towers. But
well, I have always thought that Phlox's home planet was, they developed a lot like ours did.
Sure.
That they handle elements the same way we did, that our science is not so different. Our food is not so different. We find that Phlox is a big foodie on Earth. So I think that might help. And they weren't super advanced. They were a bit advanced compared to Earth at the time. That's what I always assume.
Well, as Data described the Ferengi upon their initial encounter way back then, advanced in some ways, we more advanced in others. Makes sense.
No,
not everything's going to be right, even Steven,
Right, exactly.
So, okay, I'll give him that.
Yeah, if we ever get a real federation, I'm sure that's what we're going to see. Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, we're so super advanced when it comes to this. What are you eating? Onion rings? Wait, you invented onion rings. Something like that.
Says, what is that you're drinking? Root beer? Oh, it's so sweet and happy.
I always loved that. I hate root beer. It's like the Federation. Cloying. Overly sweet.
Another tidbit, not of my own creation, but again, worth a mention here since it's relevant to the entire episode. There is a professional whistler named Molly Lewis who provided the mercifully infrequent and brief whistle speaks in the episode.
Oh, that's hilarious.
To
I
me, this
also
proves that you can make a buck doing just about anything.
well, when the right time comes along, I feel bad for all the whistlers who preceded her, who are like on their deathbed, like, oh wait, they need whistlers for a TV.
They haven't needed whistlers since they did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
you know,
Now they
you know,
need one.
oh no, there was that brief window of opportunity when they needed someone for the Andy Griffith show.
Oh, of course. But they
Uh,
are clearly they need the call for them are infrequent, you know. So
do you remember? I think it was on Letterman. Letterman used to have people come on who were holler callers,
oh,
and because in the country, in the mountains and stuff, if you needed, like, somebody needed an ambulance or something, you know, there was an old tradition of people who could get out there and yell and holler, hey! I'm doing auctioneer. That's wrong. But yeah, we had something like that here in the US. And I think it was like in the Appalachian Mountains. Well, there must be a better way of saying it. But yeah, out in the down in the hollers.
yes.
This is
What's Craig
interesting.
say about this?
Yeah, that whistling stuff just seemed to be a reason to remind us that Mikey is an anthropologist. Completely pointless.
I can't disagree. Along with her passing out with the sound cure, what was that?
I mean, that's weird. I've been watching a lot of conspiracy kind of stuff lately, but more in these sort of science conspiracy, like lost science and stuff.
Sure.
And a lot of it is, how did they move those giant stones to make the pyramids, or to make any of these other giant monuments that they've made? Well, there was a science based on rhythm and sound and sonic, lift and all that. And allegedly you can make it with hand instruments. So that actually was a science that people are arguing may have existed here on Earth at some point. But that's the closest I can come to figuring out why it would have been interesting at all for this episode. Why do we care that she fainted? Because of the bowls? The bowls and the ring, ring, ring. I don't know.
I guess you always have to wonder. Now, your mentioning of the Andy Griffith Show brings to mind a tidbit I didn't even document, so I'm going to throw it out there right now. Star Trek and Andy Griffith Show theme songs have two things in common. Both have lyrics you never hear.
Oh, I didn't know there were lyrics to the Andy Griffith Show theme.
Get down your fishing pole and let's go down to the fishing hole.
I love it. Well, I'm gonna have to hear it sung by Don Knotts before I really think it's anything. But
yes, before you actually accept that it exists, right? I'm not just making it up.
No. It's just it's
yeah. I've done stranger things than that, John. So.
No. It's just whenever I think about the Andy Griffith Show, my favorite part was always Don Knotts. It was always,
of course.
Well, make me get my bullet out of my pocket, because I'll do it.
Let me put that key on the little peg next to the cell.
There's Otis again. All right, Otis, I'll make you some dinner.
And I'll end with the tidbits. I just pointing out that third week in a row, no Saru. So hopefully we'll at least get to see his wedding before the show is over.
That could be the ending of the whole series. Go Shakespearean and end it with a wedding.
It would do something, because one thing that concerns me is that we got one clue left. That clue could come next week or the week after. Yeah. But even then, it's going to be 2 whole episodes to go. Is that just going to be, they're going to spread out the final disposition of the progenitor tech in that time? I mean, it's a big story, so they could. But it also sounds like they might be saving a lot of stuff to wrap it all up.
Yeah. And I suppose I could have done this during predictions, but I think they are going to get the tech, and I think the tech is going to present a huge danger. And when I say they, I don't mean the Discovery crew. I think Locke and Maul are highly likely to get that tech, and the tech will present some huge danger because, let's face it, technology can be way too powerful for the people who are trying to wield it sometimes, tying into what we were saying even earlier. Something, we have not done this yet.
Oh my goodness. If for no reason to hear that great music.
Hang on. Always rely on a stoner to have a lighter nearby. Yes, he's a good guy to know. Why?
Best 2 lines at the end. He'll hook you up. And I will.
Go on over to joetownsville.com, will you? And go see the beautiful website that Joe has built with his own 2 mighty hands. And,
thank you, sir.
Take a look at all the great books and short stories and all the great things that he's written with his 2 mighty hands. Anything else we want to cover, Mr. Townsell?
I think we have covered Whistlespeak as much as it needs to be covered, and I don't think I'll be speaking the title of this episode for a long time. maybe in a season/series wrap up. That's okay. But hey, you know what? They've had worse titles. Spock's Brain, for example. So
yes. So yes, as mentioned before, join us next week for Disco Nights. We will be taking a look at episode 7 and getting even more into the terrible fate which awaits Locke and of course Maul. And hey, if you're around tomorrow night specifically, Joe and I would love it if you would join us. Look how pretty Joe is.
Thank you, John. You're such a handsome devil.
Did you? I know you don't have to say yes to this, but did you make yourself pretty, or is that just your face put there on Vanna's body?
I have my makeup right. No, I ran my one of my the appropriate photo through a gender swap filter.
Oh, that's why you're so cute.
You can tell because it's the only time, it's a rarity when you see me in a photograph where my eyebrows aren't this shaggy.
Oh, I see. Well, I gotta say, you would have had a very lovely daughter.
Oh, thank you.
So yes, be sure to join us tomorrow, 7 p.m. Barry the K will join us, and that will be another episode like this one that's coming in around an hour because Barry's on the East Coast and it's pretty late for our buddy Barry. So we're not going to go crazy late with tomorrow night's show if you're considering joining us, especially on the East Coast, but here on the Best Coast as well.
It'll be a lot of fun, and Barry's great. I'm so glad to have him on again. Oh,
yes.
It's a special day, isn't it, John?
It is a special day. It is May the 4th. And as Joe and I love Star Wars just as much as we love Star Trek. Is that true? Is that true? Do you love Star Wars just as much as you love Star Trek?
Honestly, I mean, Star Trek has been such a big part of my life since several years prior to Star Wars. And until recently, Trek has produced so much more.
Yeah. That's
true. Then I'm always going to have to give the edge to Trek, but come on, Star Wars.
I mean, Star Wars is undeniable, but I gotta admit, I think of myself a little more now as a Star Trek person. Maybe 10 years ago, I would have been more of a Star Wars guy. But
oh, really? Okay.
One of the nice things about streaming is it let me watch all the Treks again. Mm-hmm. As many as I wanted. It was a buffet, and like you say, Star Trek's put out a lot more hours of programming than our dear friends in a galaxy far, far away. But we still celebrate May 4th, and we wish you the very best.
And I did have to restrain myself for not making myself into Princess Leia in this one. So. I figured Vanna White was enough for 1 week.
Hey, man, we have this regular thing, you and I, which is sometimes you're wearing the dress, sometimes I'm wearing the dress. It's just an even partnership of hosting.
Of course.
Oh, and this is funny too. So say we all. Which then brings me into then there's the Battlestar Galactica universe, and I gotta admit I'm a big fan of that one too.
Absolutely. Same here.
And just by my mentioning Stargate earlier, no, I'll never fake the funk. I really enjoy Stargate. I know it's the bastard stepchild of all science fiction. It's probably one of the reasons why I still love it. I think that might be it, Joe.
I think we have wrapped it up succinctly, Mr. Weber.
Please join us next week. That's 3:00 here on the West Coast, 6 p.m. on the East Coast, if that's where you live. Craig, I'm not good enough at math to know what time that is for you over in the UK, but God bless. It's either rather early for you or rather late. I'm not.
I think it's in that cuss where it's both. So thank you, Craig, for staying up with us.
Believe me, we appreciate it. It's not easy for people to find our show, and we all appreciate it when you do. That's it for this week. Joe Townsville, excellent work as always. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, John Weber. That's you, sir.
And we will see you tomorrow if you want to join us Retro Rangers. And we're going to watch Battle of the Network Stars and a couple of game show clips because there's some fun stuff out there.
You don't want to miss it, everyone.
I'm sorry, Joe, what was that?
I said you just don't want to miss tomorrow.
You don't want to miss tomorrow. Good night. Thanks, Joe.